The case, this is in the matter of the estate of Lee Stern and Jr., 2022 CPR 01832, heirship determination with an independent administration. Please announce.
Aaron Goldfarb for the applicant.
John Bright, appointed by the court as attorney ad litem. Ready, Your Honor.
Everybody raise your right hand. That's going to testify. Ladies, do each of you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hands down. Go ahead, Mr. Goldfarb. Call your applicant.
Thank you. And before I do, Your Honor, I think it may be helpful to give the court just a brief summary of what we're asking the court to do this morning, because we've got some unusual facts here.
Yes, sir.
We have a will that's been filed that was professionally drawn up by Jay Kerr. And then we have a do-it-yourself codicil that unfortunately created a lot of presumptions of revocation. And so we're here on an application for determination of errors in an abundance of caution that the court determines that it cannot probate the will and codicil that have been filed.
Yeah, I read the codicil and it is kind of a bad codicil. To put it bluntly. So let's go with the heirship. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Claire, will you please state your full legal name for the court?
Claire Elise Hack.
Thank you. And what was your relationship to the decedent Lee Stern?
He was my dad.
Is it correct that your father died on August 27th of 2022 at the age of 97?
Yes, that's correct.
And he was a resident of El Paso County when he passed away?
Yes.
Okay. And your father had two children, is that correct?
Yes, myself and my brother Mel.
Okay. And your brother's full name?
His current legal name is Melvin Stern.
Okay. And your father didn't take any children into his home or adopt any children during his lifetime?
He didn't adopt any children. He and my stepmom raised Corinne Caraveo, who is his step-granddaughter, from age 13 on, after her mother died.
And you see Corinne, her thumbnail up on the top of your Zoom screen, is that right?
That's correct.
And we'll hear from her in a moment. And so your father was single when he passed away, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you briefly summarize his marriages during his lifetime?
He had a very brief marriage when he was young to a woman named Carolyn that ended in either divorce or annulment. Then he married my mother, and she died in 1970. They had my brother, and then 9 years later, they had me. And then shortly, within a year, he married Blanche Hardin Posey. And they divorced very late in life, and she has passed on. She passed on before my dad.
Okay. And so you and your brother were born of the marriage with Denise. Excuse me, your mother's full name?
Denise Sternberg.
Okay, thank you. And so you have seen the will dated February 13th, 2014, that's been filed with this court, is that correct?
Yes.
And it was drafted by local attorney Jay Kerr, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you've also seen a codicil dated September 25th of 2021, also filed with this court, is that correct?
I don't know about the date on the codicil without looking at it, but yes, I've seen the codicil.
Okay. And so the codicil references a will dated July 9th, 2021. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
It says that, but that makes no sense.
Okay. The only will that you are aware of is Jay Kerr's will. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is the significance of this date, July 9th, 2021?
So when we were asked to find another will to look and see if there was anything, I went online to search for the wording because I figured that's how my dad had found it, was online. And I found the exact wording on Rocket Mortgage, or not on Rocket Lawyer, excuse me. So I looked on that, saw how it worked. And then I was able to get signed into an account my dad had started. Turns out he started and stopped an account with them on that date. And the only thing that was in that account was that codicil. So
Okay.
I think it was probably autofill for the day that he signed it, completed it.
Okay, understood. And the J. Kerr will names 3 beneficiaries, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it's you, your brother Melvin, and Corinne Caraveo, is that correct?
correct, in equal shares.
And all 3 of you have signed a family settlement agreement filed with this court to effectively respect J. Kerr's will as if it could be probated, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and your brother and Corinne have filed waivers with this court to inform the court that they consent to you serving as the independent administrator of your father's estate. Is that correct?
yes,
And they both waived the requirement of bond. Is that correct?
yes,
And you are qualified and not disqualified from serving as the administrator of your father's estate. Is that correct?
as far as I know, there's no reason I would be disqualified.
Okay. And lastly, there's a necessity to have an estate administration for your father's estate. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Bright,
Yes, thank you, Judge. Ms. Hack, do you live here in El Paso?
I don't. I live in Chesterfield, Missouri.
Oh, okay. And how long before your father's death did you live in another city from him?
Pretty much from the time I was 18 and went away to college. I didn't really live there. I would visit.
You meaning El Paso? He stayed
Yes.
here in El Paso, is that correct? All right, and in spite of the fact that you were in another state, did you maintain constant communication with him?
Yes, we would speak
All
by
right.
Zoom often, almost weekly, and I would try to come in 3 or 4 times a year.
Right, and so based on the nature and depth of your relationship with him, you feel you would have known if he had any other kids born to him or adopted by him?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you so much. No other questions, Judge.
okay, Mr. Bright, do you call the first disinterested witness? And we have Mr. Melville Sternberg. Sir, raise your right hand. Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth of the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Oh, we're muted, sir. Send him a message, Camila.
Just did.
I do.
All righty, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bright, call the first disinterested witness.
Okay, I will call Corinne Caravale.
John,
Yes,
she wouldn't be a disinterested witness. We can
Okay.
hear from her later.
but yeah, I'll call her last then because she's here. She may as well testify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Okay, so Dr. Sternberg, would you state your name for the record?
Dr. Melville J. Sternberg
Right, and Doctor, how long did you know the deceased Lee Stern?
for approximately 70 years.
And you weren't related to him by blood or marriage, were you?
He's my brother-in-law. He was married to my sister.
I see. And yesterday when we talked, I could have sworn you said he was married to your daughter, but he was married to your sister.
Right, right.
And
That's correct.
did you, okay, did you maintain constant contact with him, Doctor?
Yes, I did. I met him when I was in pre-med, and his brother and I were in the same class and were close friends. And I met him when I went to Albany, Georgia to visit, and knew him from then on. Later on, when he came to New Orleans, he was introduced to my sister, and subsequently married her. And I
Mhm.
visited frequently, and after she died, we still communicated by phone, and one time took a vacation with his family and his two children. So
Good, thank you.
I spoke to him last about 2 weeks before he died.
Oh, okay. And to your knowledge, how many times was he married, Doctor?
I believe that, and again, I believe that he was married once and divorced before he married my sister. And then when she died, I think he married Blanche, and that's the only marriages that I know of.
That's correct. Thank you. And how many children did he have born to him?
He had only 2 children, and those were born to my sister and me.
Thank you. Did he ever adopt any children to your knowledge?
No,
Okay. And you feel based on the depth of your relationship, you would have known if he had any other marriages or children?
I'm certain I would.
Great, thank you. Pass the witness.
And Mr. Doctor, did he speak of Corinne Caraveo?
Not to me, no.
Did you know about Ms. Caraveo?
No, I really didn't.
Okay. Mr. Goldfarb, do you have any questions, any other questions of the doctor? You're muted, sir.
No questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Bright, call the next witness.
Okay, I'd call Pauline Chauvet. Is she
O'Shea,
online?
yes,
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. How do you pronounce your last name?
O'Shea.
Soche. Good,
Right.
good. Miss Soche, how did you know the decedent, Lee Stern?
He was my brother, my oldest brother.
Okay.
There were 5
and-
children, and Lee was the oldest. The next
And
one
how
was
many-
Francis, and Francis died. And there was George, and George died. And then me, and then Carla. 5 of us.
I see. Did you maintain pretty much constant communication with Lee before he passed?
Yes, I talked to him the day before he died. Somebody came in, he was at the hospital, and somebody came in the room, and he said, "I'll call you back." But unfortunately, he wasn't able to. He
I
died
see.
before we got to talk again.
Okay. Have you heard the testimony from the other witnesses in this case, Pauline?
Yes,
And you agree with that?
yes, he was married to Carolyn Iceberg for a very short period of time, and then he was married to Denise, and then was married to Blanche.
All right. And yesterday when we talked, you were aware of Corinne Caraveo, is that correct?
Yes, I've met her, talked to her on many occasions, and saw her actually at the funeral.
And I believe you indicated in your opinion that Lee was more or less raised her. Is that true?
Yes, that I really did think that he did. I know that she lived with them, and I thought that he did raise her.
Okay.
That was my impression.
Thank you so much. Pass the witness.
Goldfarb,
No questions, Your Honor.
you have Ms. Caraveo, you want to ask him a question, Mr. Goldfarb?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Caraveo, you were a witness to the codicil, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, can you briefly describe the circumstances of the signing of that codicil?
Sure. So it was very frequent that my husband, Raphael, and I would go visit my grandfather. We would go usually weekly, bring him groceries, run errands for him, anything else that he needed. And usually we would visit and he would kind of, tell me what was going on. And this particular day that we went, he had explained to me that he had drafted this codicil for the purpose of protecting his works, his books, those that had been published, those unpublished, and giving Claire authority to finish those in the event that he passed away. He was very concerned with those getting completed, getting published, and he wanted to make sure they did not end up in the hands of someone that did not know his interest. So that was what was explained to me, is the codicil was specifically for these literary rights that he had, and asked that my husband Raphael and I witness that document and then gave us a copy for us to keep. As I was the only one in town, I would keep all of his documents in a safe that I had at my home, his will, the codicil, and other medical related things for him.
Okay, great. And you can confirm that you signed the family settlement agreement with Claire and Melvin to basically give effect to the J. Kerr will from 2014, so that each of you share 1/3 of the residue of Lee's estate. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you've also filed a consent for Claire to be the sole independent administrator of Lee's estate. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And Your Honor, we would ask that the court enter the family settlement agreement into the record.
Yes, sir. I will.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Well, thank you. You don't have any questions of Ms. Caraveo, Mr. Bright?
Well, we have talked and no, I don't have any other questions. She confirms everything we've heard so far and more.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you all got together and settled this potentially difficult situation with the will and the codicil. I'm sorry for the loss of your father, your grandfather, Ms. Caraveo, as you called him. The court, after hearing testimony, finds that the heirs of Mr. Stern have been identified and that the letters of independent administration that are being sought by Claire Hack, the daughter, will be granted. Ma'am, please keep in touch with Mr. Goldfarb. There's some documents and notice to creditors. It's important that they be done within 90 days from today, or 90 days when you filed your oath, so that you can get your letters. Mr. Bright, how many hours?
2 hours, Judge.
Mr. Goldfarb, ad litem fees are set at $500. Everybody, take care of yourself and happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank
Your
you,
Honor.
Judge.
Thank you.
So much, everybody.